Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Haslet's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. The time is 6:30 p.m. and we do have a quorum present. At this time, we'll go over a couple items of community interest. The early voting for the May 6th general election has started. That will run yesterday through Friday from 8 to 5, then on Saturday from 7 to 7. Sunday from 10 to 4, and then on Monday, May 1st and Tuesday, May 2nd, it'll run from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can find more information about voting locations by going to haslet.org. Other items of community interest. So we've got Memorial Day celebrations that are going to be taking place at the community park on the 29th at 10 a.m. You can also have flags sponsored, and those are $50 per flag if you want to do that. And you can contact the city offices to get that done. The city offices will be closed on Monday, May 29th, and in observance of Memorial Day, and as will be the public library. And the public library is going to be closed on Saturday, May 27th as well. And there are a couple of positions that still remain open within the city. We got a water maintenance worker 1 and a water maintenance worker 2 position. If you know somebody or if you yourself are interested in that opportunity, you can go to haslet.org to apply for those positions. Moving on to our consent agenda, we need to review or discuss the March 28th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Any discussion on the minutes as they've been written? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, there's a motion to accept the minutes as written. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? One abstention. Motion passes, one abstention. Moving on to our agenda item 5 items. 5A, discuss, consider, and act on a recommendation regarding an ordinance amending Planned Development Ordinance 018-2016 by removing front yards from Homeowners Association's required responsibilities for maintenance. And we're going to begin with our staff presentation.
Chairman and members of the commission, this is an ordinance been brought forward because several people have come in and they want to maintain their front yards in the Caraway subdivision. I'd like to also back up and say that who maintains yards is not something that's normally found in a planned development. It's something between a homeowners association and the individual members of it, and it shouldn't be there in the first place to get the city involved. As such, we're recommending that those 3 words be taken out of the ordinance, and it really puts the onus back on the homeowners association and the property owners and not the city as the enforcement agent.
Anything additional?
No, sir.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against agenda item 5A?
Yes, sir. I have Chris Roush.
When you come to the microphone, if you would, please give your name and your address for the record.
Yes, my name's Christopher Rouse, and I live at 1465 Primrose Place over in Caraway. And I just want to add on to what you said. That's exactly what I am as a homeowner and many others is have that stricken. One of the reasons is that in that same document, open space as herein defined means the common area is maintained by any homeowners association and does not include residential lots or portion thereof. Just a little history going back. When we moved into the neighborhood in 2020, our dues were $1,200. We were told all these other things were going to be added in there. We would have shrubs cut, all these other amenities. Moving forward to today, the only thing we're getting is mowing and edging, and our dues have gone up $640 in a 3-year time period. So what I'm asking, and of course, I'm for this agenda item to have stricken because there's a lot of other things, even in our Declaration of Covenants, it states everything, Article 3, construction, the lot owner shall be obligated to maintain all grass areas between fence and street. maintenance provisions in our covenant. Each owner shall maintain its lot and residence and other structures thereon in a clean, first-class condition. Each owner shall regularly mow grass on its lot so that at all times. So for the last 3 years, we've been told we cannot because of this, the city ordinance is in effect, and because of the HOA, which is mainly the builders in Terramana who are in control. So it's really not over to the homeowners yet, but having this removed, and once everything comes over to the homeowners in an HOA, we can then make decisions just as a community on what we want. And this isn't to take away from homeowners who want to have their lawns taken care of, but there are many others who would like to care for it, because for me, one, I've had a lot of damage to my downspouts, to my fences, and I addressed it with the HOA, and I've got a letter stating coming back from the board that that would not be taken care of, and that's normal wear and tear, and I find that unacceptable. So again, I am for this agenda item, and just appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against?
Nobody signed up, but if you'd like to speak, please let us know.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alain Delon Fouefak. I live at 1182 Rose Cross Drive in Caraway 65. I'm going to add on to what the gentleman just said. So, first of all, I have a concern about their definition of front yard, because as far as I know, when my family was purchasing the house, we were told that the Homeowners Association takes care of everything that is in the front yard. And as far as I know, their job is limited to mow the lawn. So they don't touch the flower beds. And as I said, I've had a sprinkler pipe, cut off. They don't take care of that. I have a lot of chips on my car because they just, they're just doing whatever they want. And I personally feel like what they're charging us to take care of those lawns is extremely expensive. Just for mowing the lawn, it's like if I make a quick math in like 12 months, now it's $1,600 and something, close to $1,700. So if I do a quick math, it's like I'm paying over $100 just to get my phone. My lawn mower in the front. I think, I can do it myself, like as everybody think that they should be doing it. So, and if their definition of front yard is just taking care of the lawn, I believe that should be specified as well, because I feel like I'm paying for a service and I'm not getting the full service. And I feel like up to some extent, I need a refund, for whatever work they're doing. So that's something that I wanted to address here. But that's very much one of the main concerns I had. So the damage, don't take care of the damage. You have to deal with it yourself. I feel like the service is not what we were told we would be getting. And I feel like every one of us in the neighborhood should have a refund for whatever amount we're paying, because we are not getting what we're told that we'll be getting. So that's all I had to add on to what the man said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against agenda item 5A? When you come forward, if you would just give your name and address before you begin speaking, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Marcela Klein. I'm here with my husband, Todd. We live on 1706 Primrose Place in Caraway. Thank you for hearing us out today. When we signed the construction contract with Taylor Morrison, one of the major factors in deciding to build in Caraway was the fact that there was a city ordinance that mandated the HOA to provide the front yard lawn care of the entire community. It is very well known to anyone who has been a homeowner for a while that the curb appeal of a property adds value to your home and also to your neighborhood. It is also known that when you live in a community, not all homeowners take the same care of their yards, and this affects the overall appearance of the neighborhood. This year, we paid $1,840 of HOA fees. Of that money, $689 corresponded to the payment of the front lawn care. The rest was for expenses that any other neighborhood like ours has such as insurance, maintenance of common areas, utilities, etc. If we divide the $689 that we paid annually for front yard lawn care maintenance between, let's say, the 52 weeks of the year, what we receive, the service that we receive comes to $13.25 per week. That covers edging, mowing, as well as the weed and feed treatment that they provide several times a year. Anyone that who pays mowing services of any kind knows that that is a very little amount that not even a teenager will provide. We care for our own yard, but we gladly pay for the fee because it ensures that the neighborhood will maintain its curb appeal even when the neighbors don't have time, the physical ability, or desire to maintain their front yards. We paid a lot of money for our home and to live in a nice neighborhood. We knew up front that this was part of the deal, and we want to keep it this way. If this requirement goes away, the decision can change back and forth depending on who is sitting in the HOA and the HOA committee once it's drawn by the homeowners, which the neighborhood is almost completed at this point. Once the appearance of the community goes the other way, there's no way to get it back to what it is right now. We respectfully request the City Council to keep this city ordinance as it is. We have seen how other neighborhoods have changed for the worse when the HOA requirements were removed. Caraway can be seen from I-35 and now from Highway 170. You can say the Caraway is the face of Haslet. We are looking at adding a school next to our neighborhood, and other residents of Haslet will come and go, and we want Caraway to continue to be a place that we can be proud to live in, and a place that is attractive for other residents looking for a beautiful place to live. Removing the front yard lawn care from the ordinance will change that, and not in a positive way. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against this agenda item? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing, recognizing nobody else came forward, and we'll open it up for discussion. Any questions for the city staff?
Yeah, I do. So, when did the city adopt that ordinance?
2016.
And was that part of the Planned Development Ordinance for the Caraway project specifically?
It's part of the Planned Development Ordinance.
So do those same conditions apply to some of the other development projects that are underway?
No, just the Caraway.
Just in Caraway?
So why? Why does it only apply to them?
Yeah.
Why did it only apply to them? Why do we have that one rule for that?
That is, normally when somebody submits planned development, it's not the city who prepares it, it is the developer who prepares it. And those are some words that they put into the document.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious to the origin of that, because we were here when that plan development was written, and I don't recall it ever requesting that there be front lawn care be part of that plan.
So, that was the other question I have. Why? And the answer you gave, the developer put that in.
Yeah, the developer.
He wrote that in.
He wrote that in there. He prepares all the exhibits and the base ordinance, and whoever the staff was at that time, they may tweak a few things, but the bulk of it, remained intact. But once again, like I mentioned at the beginning, lawn maintenance is something that's usually not a zoning issue. It's between the HOA and then the homeowners themselves. and not a third party, the city, to come back in and enforce it. We do want everybody to maintain their yards, and you know, we have code enforcement that, you know, if somebody gets out of hand. But as far as the individual weekly maintenance, that's something that cities just don't get into.
So, have we received any responses from the Caraway residents either supporting the ordinance or against the ordinance, other than these people that showed up here? Anything in writing?
I have not seen anything.
Was this published?
Yes.
Sufficient for these people to know
Yeah, it was in the
all of Caraway?
It was in the newspaper. There was a notice that was sent out to every homeowner, and there were signs posted at the entrance.
So notice by mail?
By publishing the paper, and also by sign in the neighborhood, one at the both entrances on the south end, and also on.
And also on the website.
But you haven't gotten any response.
I have received numerous phone calls asking for some information, and I would email them the current ordinance as is with those 3 words highlighted, and then I directed them to the mayor if they had any more questions.
Yeah, we sent out over 310 letters.
You guys get them? Some did, some didn't. So I have another question, and maybe you can't answer this. Does the HOA have in their covenant the authority to enforce landscape maintenance on your property? Do they have a fine system involved? If you don't do it, they give you notice? Yep, yes. I need. Yeah, it is. I wanna hear.
Was there any comment from the developer or who holds the HOA at this time? Was there any comment about it?
No.
Okay, I don't know if this. Okay, I've got an interesting question. What could the city do if we leave this in place if someone wants to enforce that law? Do we have the right to go out there and say mow your lawn, or I mean what?
Well, if their grass under local government code, if somebody's grass gets to be over a foot tall, then we can go out there and tell them to mow their yard. And of course, normally across Texas in HOAs, they have much stricter standards than the cities adhere to. And so that's the reason a lot of places have HOAs, is just to make sure their residents maintain their yards. I actually have the Sweetgrass, which was the same developer's PD right here also, and it doesn't, I just looked again, and it does not include anything about the HOA maintaining.
And that's why I was trying to figure out why they included it here. I just didn't know if we didn't enforce the rule or what was going on.
So what I'm understanding, if we were to recommend removing that from our ordinance, then the obligation falls back on the homeowner to maintain all their property, including from sidewalk back.
Well, it actually falls back to The HOA and the homeowners.
Well, it falls back on the homeowner as outlined in the HOA document that
Yes.
man read. That's what I'm saying. So when everybody moved into Carroll, they got a copy of the HOA document, bylaws, covenants. And the bylaws and covenants are very clear that it's your obligation to maintain it unless otherwise. And then now this ordinance came. So the point is, I'm involved. But the point is the obligation would fall back on the homeowner and the HOA to enforce, not the city.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Yeah. The homeowner and the HOA would become the enforcement. Right now, they have a developer board. Someday they'll have a president. And they'll get into it. I don't know if they have a property manager. I don't have any idea. And how many HOAs are in Carroll? Do we know?
It should be just one.
Maybe not. Huh? Just the one? For all 300? Okay. Sometimes there's multiple sections and each one has.
Is there any other discussion? Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion recommending City Council to amend the Planned Development Ordinance 018-216 by removing end front yards from the Homeowners Association required responsibility.
Okay, there's a motion to recommend approval as the agenda item is written. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been second. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. And thank you for bringing your thoughts to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting tonight as well. Moving on, agenda item 5B has been removed from the discussion this evening. Go to agenda item 5C, discuss, consider, and act on a recommendation regarding an ordinance amending the Haslet City Code of Ordinances by changing the definitions of lot coverage and structure pursuant to Article 7, Section 7.4 of Exhibit 14A of the zoning ordinance, and we'll begin with our staff presentation.
The chairman and members of the commission, over the past year or so, there's been some confusion about what counts as lot coverage, and hopefully the definitions that have been brought forward will help that. And we do want to add one more word to the structure part of the definition, and that is to add the word impervious to earth formations. Because earth formations, they can be pervious and impervious. You know, if somebody builds a berm just out of dirt, you know, it's a pervious situation. However, if they cover it with rock or some way cover it, there may be an impervious surface. And so that's part of under the structures definition, but under the lot coverage, we want to change it to the total impervious surface created by all structures. And then in parentheses after that, see the definition of structure. That way, when somebody looks at it, our building official, he looks at that, he can actually, it reminds him to go back and look at the other definition. That's part of it. It's a definition within a definition. And because the word structure is used in other parts of the ordinance, while lot coverage is, you know, specific, but also refers to structures. And so we're recommending that you forward this to the City Council with recommendation of approval.
And didn't you add another category to structures, the swimming pool? Wasn't that an addition?
Yes, that's an addition to the definition of structures. Because a swimming pool, even though it's covered in water, does not absorb water, so it's impervious.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against agenda item 5C? Anybody online raising their hand? No. Okay, recognizing no one came forward in the room or raised their hand online, we'll close the public hearing. We'll move to discussion, consideration, and action. So I have a couple of questions. So if obviously a sidewalk, I'm sorry, a swimming pool doesn't absorb water, nor does driveways, sidewalks, other paving. So why aren't those added to structures? If you're talking about
They are impervious structures.
I didn't see that in the definition of structure, though. Unless I didn't read it the way you're expressing it.
Well, it says in here, an object installing a mobile object constructed or installed by man, sidewalks, driveways,
So
etc.
why do you have to define swimming pools? Any?
Because some people get confused. They say, well, it's just water.
Well,
We
I could
just
see
wanna-
somebody
we just
saying
wanna
the
make
same thing
sure.
about a big
Yeah.
stone patio around the pool.
But it includes both of them. Like what kind of pond? Well, the reason why I ask that, there are things called koi ponds, which are lined, which do not absorb water. But a natural pond, earth pond, would.
Yeah, when I think of paved areas, I could very easily see somebody not thinking that's a structure.
Mhm.
Structures are things that are built up, not necessarily things that are built flat. We're talking about play structures and other things, big and small. In that
We could add one word, flat work.
So I think that we need to have something. If that's to be included in the total area calculation, then I think that we should have something to reflect areas of paving. Like
Okay.
that.
We can put that word in there, something like flat work. That covers all kinds of.
Is that an industry definition?
Yeah.
The definition of structures.
All the coverage.
So what, so under what circumstances do we refer to lot coverage?
Well, in each zoning classification, there's a maximum lot coverage. And so this refers back to it. So on some of the smaller lots, like in Caraway, as opposed to some of the larger lots, the acre lots and the 5 acre lots. 5 acre lots, you can have a coverage of 30%, but 30% of that amount would be 100% in the Caraway situation. And so in the Caraway, if you would have, if the 30% like you would for a certain amount, it would cover the entire lot. So there's a percentage that you have to do or can do. And in fact, I can just go to the Caraway and tell
So
you what it is.
I mean, the whole idea here in the deal about structure, essentially anything that doesn't allow percolation of water below the surface. I mean, any sidewalks.
Yeah.
Any sort of ground cover. Yes, you could put rock over ground. It's still perfect.
It is.
Yeah, still perfect. So anything that doesn't allow water to be absorbed, something that's going to cause runoff.
Mhm.
Let's put it that way.
That's
Well,
impervious.
If they build a shed on a concrete slab, the shed has got all of that. It's perfect. Anything that allows water to run off into the street or
Yeah.
into any sort of drainage.
Well, I even argue
So-
that a shed without a cement foundation is still impervious.
Anything. A
Anything.
shed is.
Mhm.
A shed is impervious. Concrete foundation under is irrelevant.
So is this calculation used when somebody submits a building permit?
Yes.
To do something on an existing lot
Yes.
or a vacant lot? We see the preliminary plat, final plat for
Yes.
that lot.
Mhm.
Developed. That's what is used to determine whether they're exceeding the upper limits of
Yes, that is
development.
correct. it just helps out the, it actually helps out the public, so they know exactly what they're dealing with going into it. It also helps the staff.
So how does a homeowner know what the limit is on their lot? I mean, let's just say somebody comes in, they just put a bunch of stone pathways and stone patio around their backyard.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, you have 80% of their backyard is covered in what would be defined as impervious surface. How would they know they exceeded the limit?
They may not know unless they come in and get a building permit, and they're asked to, present a plot plan with it.
Okay, I have
Once they
another
submit a plot plan, it can be calculated, or at least estimated.
question. So by defining it this way, instead of maybe just saying anything that's not impervious would be a structure.
Mhm.
Because Greg just brought up a point, I left out the sidewalk. Like I didn't know the sidewalk from the front of my house out to my mailbox.
Well,
That's part of my
I look
front
at, I think it is included.
It
And when it says an object,
Yeah.
sidewalk,
I know.
I think
but
if we
constructed
add
or
more-
installed by man.
It's where you get the words.
Yeah, I think if we add the term flat work, then I would feel like we've sufficiently covered all of the paving, whether that be sidewalks, right? Adding around schools. At least I personally feel like we don't need to further define.
No, I think it's over. I think it's kind of over.
Put the greenhouse. Oh, that, you know, that, 'cause I water my plants inside my greenhouse. Yeah, exactly. So have we over defined it?
No. No, any defining will help the building department.
So does our current upper limits of development include the proper estimated amounts of paving that somebody would do on a lot?
They're usually very generous. I don't know any case where they're not very generous. It's not like really restrictive unless somebody goes over. It's when somebody goes overboard and they just cover every inch of their lot, then it becomes problematic.
Yeah, I just want to make sure by adding and changing some of these terms, we don't say, so now somebody can't on a half acre lot or a smaller lot, can't put a swimming pool in their backyard if they want to because we added it to the definition of structures and now it's in the calculation. And now, oops, now you're over the limit. Now you can't do that. So sorry, you can't have the pool. Or you can have the pool, but you can't have the patio. Yeah.
They might have to work with it a little bit. Make sure they.
Said, do we have a in some of the definition a percentage of pervious and impervious cover?
I was looking for that. I haven't found it yet in this particular report here.
Personally, I'd like to know what those limits are if we're going to be adding content to the definition of structure. Yeah, we've got we've got some residents who are putting curved driveways in the front of their property, and I think it's great that they get to do that. But if they've now created a situation where they're over the limit by doing that, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to add things to this definition that would prevent them from being able to do. And it might. but at the same token, I wouldn't want my neighbor to, cement their whole front yard, make a basketball court in their front yard. either.
Well, one of the things that some people do nowadays is they actually do 100% of their yard into concrete and cover it with artificial turf,
Which is impervious.
which is impervious. So that becomes, here's the bottom line on all this is that all these residents, the streets, the storm drains, were all calculated on a percentage of surface that is permeable. They have a runoff coefficient, and when you start making things close to 100% runoff coefficient, it blows the whole models down out, and they don't have enough capacity downstream to handle all the storm water. That becomes the problem. I'm not seeing in here in that particular subdivision, the maximum coverage. It may be somewhere else in the other documentation, like the CFA, which I don't have a copy of.
Is that something we could maybe review at a future date?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's important to know what, and it's got to be covered somewhere.
Yeah, it's covered
Because
somewhere.
when they submit a site plan, you've got to look at pervious versus impervious cover and runoff, particularly on a large development.
Yeah, and there's nothing that says this has to be recommended for approval. Not if you want to, table it, we can come back with a chart and say, here's all the different.
Take Caraway. That whole development, I guarantee, was looked at as far as pervious, impervious, runoff. You're right, runoff coefficients, flood control, runoff, etc. Because if they dumped a whole lot more water than they were designed to, the people downstream would be hurt.
That is
Not
correct.
necessarily them.
That is correct.
I actually
That's exactly.
kind of like your suggestion, to table it until we understand those limits
Mhm.
and make sure that it's compatible with the change.
Yeah.
I would feel better about that.
The only thing we'll have to
would
do
have to be a
is,
motion.
re-notify in the paper. Mhm. Well, we're gonna have to look at all of them. Yeah.
Any more discussion, questions? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we table it.
Okay, there's a motion to table and continue at a future date. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second to table the agenda item 5C. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, agenda item 6 is status of development project. You can see that exhibit in your files that you received. We continue to see a progress on some of the build out that's occurring. Agenda item 7, executive session, we don't need. Agenda 8, actions from executive session, we don't need. Anything for future agendas that you want to share with us tonight?
Yeah, we had one item that we pulled off. We just need to do some further research on it. Our attorney wanted us to expand it a little bit, and that was the one that was pulled off the agenda. So we'll be seeing that on the next agenda. Plus, I anticipate a 3-lot plat in our extraterritorial jurisdiction on the Maxwell Circle coming before you next time.
Is that the one we've seen before, or is this a
Yes,
different one?
it's the one you saw before,
Okay.
but they still have problems.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, agenda
Make a
item 10.
motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned. Time is 7:09 p.m. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming tonight.